Afternoon, how are we all doing? Sorry I'm late. Busy, doing stuff. Completely forgot what time it was. Suddenly looked at the clock and it was 20 past. Afternoon, Pip, JC, Virginia, Harold, Moira, Baggy, Michael, Brian, how are we all doing? Fletch, Amy, Burke, afternoon. So, just a quick recap on this morning's DAX ORB, depending on how you took it, obviously. Good ORB today, so that was the 15-minute pre-market range, 5-minute pre-market. That was your 5-minute opening range. So we had a little fake breakout to the upside, and then it flushed very nicely. So two good shorts on that, and lots of nice profit today on the ORB. So DAX was good. Gap fill is done to the downside. So that leaves all these upside gap targets open wide now. So the main one obviously being from yesterday, still there. So we didn't take out yesterday's low today so far. We rejected the high of yesterday and the previous day. So we're basically running an inside bar pretty much on the previous 2 days. So looking for a break up into that high at some point. So good looking long opportunity, same as the good looking long opportunity from yesterday, just hasn't gone yet, has it? So DAX is looking good. We'll see what the others do today. News-wise today, hi, it's time. Darish, how are we doing? Wall Street Capital Trading, hi. So we've just had the CPI figures for Canada. Month on month came out as expected. The overall sort of broken down, if you like, results were slightly negative. So inflation coming down in Canada, which is good. So as expected, basically, pretty much, or slightly better. So obviously slightly better inflation for everybody who lives there. Currency-wise, takes the pressure off of interest rate rises, so tends to be a little negative currency, but not a great miss on any of it, really. We're talking 0.1s, so nothing particularly exciting there. We got CB consumer confidence for the US this afternoon at 3 o'clock in 34 minutes. So that's half an hour after market open. Don't think the market's going to hang around for that. Might do, but we'll see what happens. Quick recap on the news today. We had Lagarde this morning saying the rates are to stay elevated as long as necessary. Inflation in the euro is too high, all bullish. Same thing. We're going to keep on interest rate rising. We had some stuff out of the Bank of England, which wasn't particularly exciting. Euribor option, I didn't see this. Wages Euribor options wages congregate around 4% ECB rate by September. I don't know, it's some other foreign language they're speaking. HSBC has warned of recession coming this year for the US, with Europe next year. So all these recessions we thought we were going to just miss are all going to happen. So yeah, recession is on its way. There's the CPI figures. That's pretty much it for the morning. So all good. Nothing exciting happened. Yen pairs this morning. Aussie CAD and New Zealand CAD have just hit ADRs to the upside. Just get the Dow up there ready. So we just had a couple of ADR hits to the upside on these Canadian dollar pairs. So obviously Aussie dollar CAD, Euro CAD, New Zealand CAD, all ADR hits to the upside. So weakness in the Canadian dollar off the back of that news. So there's Aussie CAD. Oops. So nice market reversal alert there and retest. So there's your W. Market structure running off to the long side on Aussie CAD. CAD Swiss obviously come down. CAD Yen coming down. Euro CAD going up. That's 125 ADR, just broken out the highs up into that propulsion gap. So potential short there. That's a lovely short. Look at that. That's not stopped all day. So they'll pull back on that at some point. That's a very nice looking short. Drop down M5, wait for the reversal alert. So your reversal alert is going to go in there off of 125 ADR. That'd be a nice short, I think. That would be a good one to have a look at. So let me just volume. Pound CAD. Rally to the upside. That one hasn't hit ADR yet. It's on its way though. New Zealand CAD has just hit ADR as well, so potential short off of that one. And the US dollar CAD, weakest of them all. Obviously, when the Canadian dollar moves, the US dollar tends to move with it, so you get a whipsaw because they're both pushing at the same time. Therefore, neither of them has an advantage. But the US should pick up on this, basically, as the Canadian dollar weakens and the initial rally from the US comes to an end. We should get a good move off that, hopefully, that US dollar CAD to the upside. It's definitely overdue. Right, markets are open. So let's have a look at the opening ranges. When you're ready to wake up. Dow, pre-market, 5 or 15 has broken to the upside. If you've taken the S&P pre-market, you're probably long on that one. NASDAQ is just broken short and is holding up in the range. So no trades taken on those two with this version of the EA because obviously it's monitoring the pre-market size and they're obviously too small today. The Dow, however, is off and running. So all breaks to the upside, all longs on the opening range breaks. So we'll see if we can get a rally today. Looking at these where they're going, it's very difficult. The Dow yesterday was an absolute choppy mess. We are rejecting these lows, though. We don't seem to be able to break down below this level. So it looks to me like we do want to get that pullback. Obviously, the DAX has got all those gaps to fill to the upside. We've had, what are we on now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days straight down with no real pullback. So I reckon some kind of pullback on this. So if we are going to continue a downward leg, which some people think now that recession is on the cards is going to happen, a pullback into there and then drop is the order of the day, isn't it? So we may well just, though, get an accumulation or a sort of flag and then break. However, if you are bullish, you'll be looking at this being a pullback long. So there would be really where I would anticipate us going before we take a rally, or that sort of level there, that previous week's low, and that monthly level there. So there's obviously we'll see which way it goes today, but there's arguments for going in either direction at the moment. Euro CAD 150 ADR. Okay, so again, just wait for the reverse alert on it. Don't jump in just because it's 150 ADR. Wait for it to show some signs of weakness. That thing's still flying. A bit of a whippy open on the NASDAQ, look. All over the place. Really whippy open on the NASDAQ and the S&P. Wow. Big, strong move. That's your opening range, or even lower now on the NASDAQ. We've got 2 minutes left on this candle. So any kind of pre-market opening range break today is a whipsaw. Again, this is exactly what this version of the EA is designed to do, detect these ranges being too small for the opening break and not trade them, which is good. So that's why we haven't got an S&P trade or a NASDAQ trade. Ranges are too big. The Dow, however, was nice and tight, so it's taken that one and we're off. Afternoon, Steve, Stefan, how we doing? We'll have a look at the FX pairs in a minute. See how we're going there. Okay, 50 seconds left on this first 5-minute range. So the Dow's the one that's paid today. Really nice break on that. And market looking like it wants to push higher. So it looks like longs at the moment. So first 5-minute bulls are winning out across the board. So we'll see if we can hold those. So look for pullbacks potentially for long positions today. Brian, EU playing out nice on the ORB. Yeah, really nice, easy one today. Straight in, straight off. Those ADR days are your paydays. I think you just got to kind of try and hold every single one to ADR. And those are the ones that are going to pay the bills. Very good. Baggy, is that new EA or we can adjust the original one? No, it's a completely new system. This version that I'm testing. Have a look at this morning's session. Towards the very last part of the session, I explain all about what this does. So ORB on the 5-minute opening range break on the S&P and the NASDAQ have gone long. We're off. We're off. Just watching over here because I'm running this on the funded account today. So I'm not going to let it continue to do its own thing. I am going to shut it when I'm happy with my money. So just bear with me while I concentrate on that. Smooth stop to break even on the NASDAQ. We're just running into the highs on the S&P, which is being rejected. Limit orders are triggering up at those highs, which will bring the NASDAQ down. If it holds, obviously. If it has a second run and goes for it, fine. But I don't want to. I don't want to take a loss on it, basically. So Dow, watch that level on the Dow, which is the session high, Globex high. We're just coming up to now. That is also previous day's high as well. That's yesterday's high. Globex, we ran straight up into yesterday's high and rejected it. So this will be the third test on that level. If we get through there, we'll probably get a big pop out the top. And that will be a point to close some out if you are long. NASDAQ's going to stop out, break even, I think. For me, anyway. Wonder why DAX is not moving like the others? Because it's the US session. DAX is a European index. DAX moves in the mornings in Frankfurt. So we trade this in the morning. Yeah. We trade the US indices in the afternoon. Don't trade the DAX in the afternoon because the DAX is just doing nothing. It's lunchtime in Europe. Trade what moves in the sessions. New York index is moving New York. DAX moves in Frankfurt. Okay, 1 minute to go on this candle. Looks like we're rejecting the highs on the DAX. Dow. There we go. There's that pop on the Dow out that high. Okay, let's close that Dow out and move to break even on it. Everything else is just stuck. NASDAQ stuck. So we're sitting in this propulsion gap here, which sellers seem to be adding to. Better stop out. I'll break even on that NASDAQ. I'm not going to push it. Obviously, this is just taking the normal break, but I'm out now on that. Okay, so got divergence across Dow and the NASDAQ. So NASDAQ's going short, Dow's going long, S&P's having a think about it at the highs. Right, there we go. Nice ORBs today again. Decent profit. Still running, but right, let's have a look at the FX pairs. So CAD Swiss has just hit ADR as well. Hello. So ADR hit to the downside on CAD Swiss. This is a total range bound monster at the minute. Look at this, volatility picked up. So we had that nice contracted area. Volatility's picked up, but absolutely no direction. This whole market at the moment is an utter nightmare. There's just so much sideways movement, which is absolutely fantastic if you're scalping. But it's just, there's no direction in anything at the minute. So this is the Canadian dollar news. This is yesterday's high and the previous, yesterday's low and the previous day's low. That's also the previous day's low, the previous day's low, and the previous day's low. And that's last week's low. So this whole area down here, just buy it at the minute. That news on the Canadian dollar was not bad enough to warrant. I mean, I know it's all showing red, but it's 0.1 the and a forecast on the month. So it's not that negative for the Canadian dollar. The other thing you need to take into account with the Canadian dollar, as we know, is oil. And we've got an ADR hit on oil today to the downside, but that has just rallied straight back up again. So we come straight down into ADR, and we're having a little bit of a rally back into that propulsion gap. So we looked at oil as a what the hell is going to happen next type scenario, and we have done every day. Peak formation low, high, higher low. We're expecting the next rally up to that area. All we've got is a quadruple bottom bounce now at this previous level. So if this breaks today, so we've hit ADR, this is an absolute perfect spot for a buy, assuming that we're going to do a range high test of one of those four levels. Stop under that low. You're easily going to get a 2, 3, 4R return on any long you take on oil at the moment. If it breaks that level, we're coming down to test this low here, which is 225 ADR. We're not going to get there today, obviously, but we'll get there in a couple of days. So this is potentially an absolutely beautiful spot if you want to go for a quick sort of multi-day trade up into these areas, or if you want to hold it for a longer term range high move. We don't know how long or how wide this range is going to retain itself at, but it's oil. They're not interested in going shorter on it. They're not interested at the moment going longer. Someone at some point is going to make a move on it. But we'll have to wait and see which party decides to do it. So if we are going to rally to the upside from these lows, which is what we keep doing over and over again, that's going to be good for the Canadian dollar. So these moves that we're seeing on the CAD at the moment, the downside, like the CAD Swiss that we've just looked at, they'll be short-lived, because as soon as the oil rallies again, the Canadian dollar will rally along with it. So we should be looking back up at those highs. So good looking opportunity for a long off of that ADR, drop down M5. Reversal, that's a bit far away. So if you want to take a really aggressive position on this, there's your W pattern. Nasty spread on this, isn't there? Wait for some kind of bullish price action. Reversal, that's going to go in there, which is going to be a little bit late today, because you're going to be kind of half an ADR before you actually get into the trade. But you've got a nice pin bar there. followed by bullish engulfing. So you could just get long there, really tight stop. Don't do too much risk on it and just go for a quick run up into the middle of that range. Nice little opportunity for a long. You're not going to get the reversal out though. It's a little bit too far away on that one. So looking at all these ADRs, we know about oil. We just looked at that. Aussie dollar CAD, we looked at this one this morning. This was, oh no, sorry, we didn't look at this one this morning. But like a lot of these others that we did look at this morning, I think we only had one this morning, didn't we? But look at the size of this candle here. That is not, you can't actually see it, but that is the wick on that candle. Yeah. That is not an ADR hit. That is basically a massive long wick causing at the swap, causing it to look like it's an ADR hit. That's where I would measure ADR from. We haven't got there yet, so forget that one. Just to push up against the Canadian dollar, obviously. So it is a good short opportunity still. CAD Swiss, we just looked at. Good opportunity for a long on that one. Euro CAD. Euro's having a little bit of an update today. Yeah, so nice bullish run out of London. So decent movement there. Not really sure why it's moving quite so hard. We've got Lagarde rallying the market a little bit today. So we looked at this news that Lagarde said this morning. Down here. So she was basically rallying the euro, saying that we are going to keep interest rate rises. We're not going to pull them down until the data says so. Inflation is too high. We've come out and said there's going to be a recession in Europe. So we want more interest rate rises. So it's all bullish euro. So obviously it is reacting to that. Euro CAD obviously has hit ADR because we've had negative Canadian dollar news. So that's where the news came out. We were already at ADR. We're now at 150. So opportunity for a nice short on that one. No real market bias on Euro CAD. So it's -1. COT is all long. Retail is also long, which means you want to be shorting it. There's no fundamental advantage. Can't see that, can you? That's Euro CAD. Yeah, so there's no real advantage long or short on Euro CAD at the minute. So just putting back on that. Glad I got out of that. And I'm glad I got out of that. Look at that whipsaw. Propulsion gap is holding on the S&P. And the sellers are not able to drive the NASDAQ down. This looks like a nice long today. Hopefully, because it is long. So yeah, Euro CAD, there's no bias on it. We just filled a propulsion gap there. So if we do get up to 200 ADR today, which is going to be a hell of a push, yeah, love it. So we got last week's high and previous week's high sitting there as a range high. Pound CAD just hit ADR as well. Canadian dollar still dropping. So yeah, looks good for shorts all the way up here. Might get an RSI extension on this one as well. Yeah, this got an RSI extension as well, the Euro CAD. So that's a good one to take. Pound CAD, we've just had the alert on. That's just hit ADR. Again, drop down to M5. Your reversal alert's going to be fairly tight on that one at the moment. And nowhere near RSI at the moment on that one. Euro Swiss. So again, Swiss franc and the euro tend to move in tandem. We've got a big strong push on the euro. I got out of that long from yesterday there today. Still pushing up. So this propulsion gap got retested, which they rallied from. So we're likely to find sellers stepping in here. We're at 150 ADR. Your reversal is probably going to be miles away on this one. Yeah, because we've just had that big old rally for 15 minutes going at the open. So not particularly easy to get into that, but it is 150 ADR. Just bear in mind you might be looking at a flag. So I would probably wait for a reverse alert on that. How are you? Pound CAD, New Zealand CAD. Nice wicks going in on New Zealand CAD at the moment. Wicks to the upside. Reverse alert is really tight there. So your entry is going to be there at ADR. Propulsion gap target to the downside. Look for a third to a half an ADR on that. That's 20 pips. Quarter of an ADR is 16. Half an ADR is 33. So that's about third of an ADR. Perfect. So short it on that reverse alert back down into support. New Zealand dollar Swiss. It's a mess. Oh yeah, this is the one we looked at this morning. So this is the one that is not an ADR hit. So they pulled it down. I think it was 45 pips. Yes, 45 pips is the ADR on this. They pulled it down 34 pips. So 3/4 of an ADR at the swap. So ignore all of that. So if you measure it from there, 45 pips to the upside, we have only done 27 today. So that's not an ADR hit. That's the broker being a broker. Right. So the only RSI. So basically this morning, I went through every single pair because we had no RSIs this morning. We were flat. The only one we had, I think, was Euro odd, which I think is the only one we still have. 4 hour. Yeah, I think that was it. So Euro odd was the only one we had on the 4 hour. It's still extended on the 4 hour. So yeah, basically nothing much else to look at on the RSI. So if you want to have an overview of all the pairs, this morning's live room, I went through absolutely everything. So after the open, I've gone through every pair. So Euro odd is the only thing extended on the 4 hour. Most other RSIs at the moment are fairly flat, as you can see. Euro yen is extended. We know about the yen. They are still pushing this yen. So that is extended on the 4 hour. Again, we've been extended and embedded for 2 weeks on this now. All these yens, well, I say not all of them, actually. That's not really true. But a lot of these yens are still rallying. So the Aussie dollar we know is incredibly weak at the moment. What worries me about that one is the flag break. We break that resistance, I think there's a good chance we might come up and retest that high again because everything else against the yen seems to still be rallying. CAD yen, that's coming down off the back of the news. We'd like to see that reverse alert on the 4 hour just to confirm that we have actually got enough selling pressure on this. If we don't and we try to rally again, the Japanese are going to be very, very cross. Swiss yen rallying out the highs along with the Euro yen today. So again, yen's getting hammered. Pound yen is rallying up to new highs again today. New Zealand dollar yen, same thing. New Zealand dollar is weak with the Australian dollar, and even that's managing to make new highs against the yen. And then obviously the US, which at the moment is holding. So this is kind of the gauge you want to use against the yen for this intervention move that's coming up. This is what the Japanese are worried about, the US dollar yen exchange rate, because a lot of the exports from Japan and a lot of the imports into Japan are priced in US dollars. So the weaker the yen gets against the US dollar, the more difficult it is for them to conduct business, live, do everything. So this is what the market kind of uses as its barometer. And if the Japanese are going to announce a level that they say you cannot go beyond, they will do on the US dollar yen. The last time they said, we are closely monitoring the FX markets. It is not desirable, those are the sorts of terms they use, for the market to move beyond $150. What happened when we got to $150? They intervened with a 500 ADR move. No, it was more than that. It was 800, wasn't it? 670. 500-ish, 600-ish. So they haven't called a level this time. All they've said is we don't want any sharp, fast moves against us. So the euro and the Swiss and the pound are not listening. But New Zealand dollar, Aussie dollar, and US dollar at the moment are. So it's difficult to tell what's going to happen with these. We've certainly stopped the massive selling of the yen, which is good. So these are all poised to come down. I've got multiple TPs on some of these yen positions placed at decent distances. Yeah, everything's like at least 100% of ADR to the downside. Some of them way more. So this one, for example, on the CAD yen, that's probably 300 ADR. Yeah, if that intervention candle comes in at 300 to 500 ADR, which is exactly what we get on an intervention normally, we're going to be back down here within 4 hours. So just, they are starting to weaken, but we've seen this before. We've seen them starting to weaken a couple of times, and I haven't managed to get the message. We're waiting for that break, retest, new low to go in. As soon as we get that, I think the market's going to rally onto it, but we're not getting it. So we'll wait and see what happens with these, but they're all very, very extended still. But not on the RSIs, obviously, because when you get an accumulation, the RSI drops. And we sit basically with a decision to make as to which direction we're going to go next. So we'll see. But yeah, that's all I wanted to cover on those. Let's have a quick look at the indices. So NASDAQ off to the highs again. Dow back down, retesting propulsion. Looks like that is a sell at the Globex high. We are retesting up on that one. This is a very jittery market today. We've got 5 minutes until the news. Dow is coming down and collapsing. Look. So watch this area. So this was the open, basically. So that's your initial cash balance going in. Buyers rallied off the back of that. This is either a profit take for a second leg, or buyers ran into a brick wall at the Globex high where the sellers started to rally down. See, I think we're going to wait for the news until we get that decision made, I think, by the looks of things. It's very volatile. The candles moving up and down a lot. So there's a lot of volume coming in today. Very decent. We'll see what happens. If this rallies to the upside, though, we've got loads of room. ADR day today, I reckon. Certainly enough volume. Elliot, Wayne even. Off topic. The percentage gain on the trade manager, how is that calculated? What's the percentage expressed against? Your balance. Balance that you enter. So the inputs. Yeah, you enter. Where are we there? You enter your starting balance. And that will be expressed as a percentage there. Oh. Wake up. No, why can't I close anything? There we go. Terminal's having a funny 5 minutes. So watch this propulsion gap on the Dow. We've got 2.5 minutes until the news. Ford is laying off 1,000 workers. Not good. Ford is in the Dow. I think. Oh no, maybe they're not. I thought Ford was in the Dow. Or is it General Motors in the Dow? I could have sworn there was a motor group in the Dow. There's not, is there? They're not in the Dow. Ignore me. They're in the S&P then, aren't they? Yeah, they're 134. They're in the S&P. Right, 1 minute to go till the news. So NASDAQ's holding long. S&P at the moment is holding out that propulsion gap. So they are adding back in, but not particularly strong, is it? Dow need that area to hold there. DAX is also starting a little bit of a rally, which is good. Might get some movement coming in. Okay, 10 seconds. Pending. Something's just triggered an alert. So Euro US dollar. Hourly RSI extension now. Whoops. So extend on the hourly on the Euro US. That's a 3-bar reversal potentially going in there. So positive US 109 off of a 103. That's quite a big hit. Not a lot of reaction on the indices. Euro US dollar, let's see what the Euro US dollar is up to. Euro coming down. So US dollar is rallying. Should be negative indices. So NASDAQ's rejecting those highs again. So that's yesterday's high that we're sitting up on the NASDAQ. Not able to get through there. Look. Sorry, that's previous day's low. Sorry, that we're rejecting on the NASDAQ. This area here we're getting stuck at. So might be a short. Not a lot of reaction at all, is there? Okay, so Euro US dollar. So basically, it's bullish US dollar, but nothing particularly exciting. Doesn't do a lot. That's CB. So unfortunately, not a lot of movement off of it, but it is overall bullish. So we might find that we get a little bit of a rally for the rest of the day on the US. So good opportunity to maybe take a few little long positions if you want to scalp the US dollar. Short Euro US dollar, short pound US dollar. But doesn't look particularly strong to me at all. There we go. Anybody got any other pairs they want to have a look at? Because that's all I've got today. There's not really anything else to look at. I went through every single pair this morning. So we've done all the analysis this morning in the live room. Euro CAD, we've just got an hourly RSI extension on that one. That's also an ADR hit today. So your reversal hasn't gone in yet on that one. Not quite. Close, very close, but not quite. Is just starting to roll over the Euro CAD. Again, Canadian dollar might strengthen with the US, in which case, obviously, Euro CAD's going to come down. Euro US dollar, obviously, that is an ADR hit. An hourly RSI hit to the upside. You've just had the reverse alert on that one there, look. So, it's a short entry. No real bias, Euro US dollar. We're sideways at the minute on the week. Got highs there. So if you're going to go short on it, last week's high would be a second entry. And then obviously up into the last month's high for another entry. And then out when we get a pullback. Nicely extended. So just looking for that rollover. And they take profit on this little rally they've been doing. JC, thank you, Dow. Yes, Dow's paid. Paid me. When EU goes down, doesn't DAX go up? Not necessarily, no. Typically when the euro goes down, the DAX will go up. But if the euro US dollar goes down, that doesn't mean that the euro is going down, does it? That means that the US dollar has just had positive news and is driving the euro US dollar exchange rate short. You look at something else, Euro New Zealand, for example, euro's not going down, is it? Euro pound, Euro Swiss going up, Euro odd going up. Euro US dollar is going down because the US dollar is rallying. So that doesn't have any impact on this. This is priced in euros. So if all the euro pairs at the same time start to go down, that will tend to rally. Brian out on EU at 5R. After all the back testing, still can't get a configuration to run fully auto. Definitely need to manually manage. Yeah. Yep. So for those that don't know what Brian's strategy is, basically he's using the opening range breakout EA, or has been testing with the opening range breakout EA to trade the euro US dollar off the first 4 hours of Asia. So take that first 4 hours of Asia and use that as an ORB. Some days it's fantastic. A lot of days it's fantastic. Some days you'll get whipped out and it will drive the other way. Sometimes it will do what it does and just stop you out both directions. But the days it goes and the days you get the ADRs, because that range is so small, you're usually going to get an ADR if you get a rally. And if you can hold it and break even and get a multi-day run, that's beautiful. So it's a good way of catching breakouts. We'll probably work on most FX pairs that are not Asian related. So any of the European pairs, the pound pairs, Swiss pairs, Euro pairs, US pairs, CAD pairs, not the Aussies, the New Zealands or the Yens, because they're very volatile during Asia. But we've back tested it. And the days like yesterday, yeah, days like yesterday, you would have broken long there, just gone absolutely nowhere, just got out the high, come back into there. Didn't make a penny. Day before, buy a Lamborghini. Day before that, lose a Lamborghini. Yeah. This is the trouble with breakout strategies. Breakout strategies are 80% of the time failures, because 80% of the time the market spends its time in mean reversion or range bound. Therefore, 80% of the time, if you're trying to trade a breakout strategy, it's going to either not be an amazing return or it's going to be a mediocre return. It's all about holding on to these winners when they go. And that's the difficulty. Holding on to the winners. Dow is holding the propulsion gap. So buyers that started that rally, or rather the open, when the initial cash balance went in, we're getting adds into those buys. NASDAQ's not, neither is the S&P. Look, NASDAQ is rejecting that high. And the S&P's rejected the Globex high, as I said earlier. Tricky market today. Look at these wicks. I mean, it's a great filter, the wick. When you see these massive wicks like this, it's indecision in the market. There is no advantage. No buyer's advantage, no seller's advantage. And literally, these are the days when you're trying to scalp on low time frames that you just get slaughtered. Because you can't get a direction, you can't get a rally going, and it just chops you to death. So hedged on the S&P. So if we get a break on the S&P from here, doesn't matter which way it goes, it's going to make money. But I took all this off earlier because I've got half a brain. This is a demo account, so I don't care. I just want this to just trade and make sure it does what it's programmed to do. I'll probably give this a couple more days of testing, but it seems to be working absolutely perfectly at the moment. So all the logic's working, which is good. Apart from when we get connection fails. Right. Yesterday was a killer. Yeah, well, in the euro US dollar, yeah. Yeah, this is the problem. It's just so, this is why I love the ORB strategy, because the ORB is a kind of hybrid. Opening range breakout, we're not trading with the ORB EA. When the ORB EA is trading, it's not really trading a breakout strategy. It's trading a momentum. It's more of a momentum strategy than a breakout strategy. So that open, which isn't drawn on this one for some reason. There. So that open that you get, that initial cash balance, that's the DAX. That's the wrong one. That's why it's not drawn. Not drawn on the Dow either. But yeah, that initial cash balance that you get is a momentum play. So most of the time you'll be in and out within minutes on it. So if the breakout fails, you've kind of already made your money. The problem with trading breakout strategies in the FX market is the FX market does not have timed movement. The FX market moves when the banks decide to inject the orders in. There is no at 9:30, the bell's going to ring, we're going to inject the orders. So trying to trade breakouts on any FX pair is very difficult, which is kind of what the smart money concepts are about. The smart money concepts are about trading failed breakouts, mean reversion, which is exactly what I think you should be doing because it works. When the market's not trending, obviously. I think the last option I'm going to try is increasing the opening range size from 150 to 110 to see what happens. Test it. Test, test, test. Also test other pairs as well. A lot of people that do mean reversion trading, they mean reversion the Asian session. So it might be worth testing on some of these Asian pairs. But I mean, that's when, see, this is the thing. This is the Asian session up until there, right? The Asian move started on hour 5 that day. That day, it started on hour 6. That day, it started on hour 5. That day, it started on hour 5. Yeah. So if you're going to do an Asian strategy using an Asian currency like the Aussie, Australasian, whichever, Asian session, basically, hour 5 seems to be the majority of the time when the market decides to move. So a break of the 4th candle is probably a decent strategy. But again, there, it didn't work, did it? Sorry, the 4th candle's there. It's where do you put your stop? What range size to use? There's so many variables with all those types of strategies. Tricky. This Dow is really struggling to hold these buys at the moment. It is holding. Eventually, these sellers are just going to give up. These wicks are going to turn into longs, but they're running straight into sell orders. So I don't hold up much hope today for a strong break. NASDAQ is certainly doing it. So NASDAQ short. So hedged on the NASDAQ, hedged on the S&P. So if we do get a big run today, hopefully it goes short now, because the danger with this particular setup that's being used is the double-ended whipsaw. It's using a very wide ADR stop, as you can see. So we're not using stops at the highs and lows of the range. Trying to use wider stops to catch those longer term runs, but some days they work, some days they don't. Dow is holding up. So Dow looks like a long. Got 1 minute left on this candle, but this looks like a great buy. Stop under the low. If you want to be super safe, stop under that wick outside that propulsion gap. And rally off somewhere. ADR today, look. ADR is That high from, where are we? Friday, isn't it? Yeah. So run up to ADR on the Dow. Quite like the look of that. 65 points. 150. 2R. So that trade there. ADR is 2R. That's worth a shot. For long if you want it. Right. I'm going to leave it there. I've got nothing else really to discuss today. The S&P also coming out of the propulsion gap. Globex lows holding on the NASDAQ. It's whipsaw. Dow's really your only hope, I think, today. These others have really got no idea where they're going. Hopefully they'll get a move started at some point. Doesn't matter which way it goes, but as long as it goes somewhere. So yeah, be back tomorrow. Be aware of, excuse me, overnight news tonight. We've got the Aussie CPI figures coming out tomorrow. There's no forecast on this for some reason. I don't quite know why we haven't got a forecast on it. Where is it? That's retail sales. Where's the Aussie CPI figures? Oh, sorry, that's the wrong day. Gone too far. So Aussie CPI forecast is 6.1 off of a 6.8. Don't know why that's not in there. So we're looking for a fairly decent drop in the Aussie rates. So any Aussie pairs that you've got on as shorts, which everything pretty much short has been kind of played out now on all these Australian dollars. So if we get that negative number as expected, it doesn't mean that the Aussie dollar is definitely going to come down. It just means that we're getting what we expected to get. There is a massive move we've just completed on the Australian dollar to the downside, this A-shaped recovery on the Aussie CAD, for example, and the Aussie New Zealand, we know we're well on our way down on that one as well. So there's potential movement in either direction on the Aussie New Zealand Aussie tomorrow. If we get better than expected interest rates, i.e. they are higher than the forecast, we should get a rally. But that's what we were expecting with the pound, if you remember. So with the pound, we were looking at getting the same thing. We got an 8.7, which was exactly where we are. We were forecast to drop, exactly what is forecast for the Australian dollar. We got that. The pound dropped on that positive news because that means interest rates have got to go up. So just be aware that whatever you get happening with that news tomorrow isn't necessarily going to be the direction that the market's going to want to take. It's been rallying down very hard. Why is it not clearing my alerts? Been rallying down very, very, very hard, and we haven't had a profit take move on that yet. So there's a good chance that the market might use tomorrow's move news just to make a move, regardless of which direction it's going to go in. So all these Aussie pairs are potentially sort of buys now because we've been selling and we're out of the sell cycles now, potentially going back into the buy cycles. As you can see, Aussie New Zealand just had the reverse alert and we're retesting at the moment. So these are all pretty good. That Aussie just got out of that Aussie this morning. That was the RSI extension from Friday to the downside. Exited that one this morning. So that, you know, there's arguments for both directions on the Aussies, but be aware tomorrow morning. So if you've got any really good profit in the bank before you go to bed tonight on Aussie pairs, probably worth just banking it before the news, just in case. If it does go the wrong way for you, obviously you've got it in the bank then, and you can add that position back on. Brian, finding the right config on the BEs to have been aggravating on the break-evens. Right, yeah, I got you. Okay. Have it set to 200. Some days it runs and doesn't look back. Others it tags it and then takes off. Yeah. Well, break-even stops, you know my opinion on break-even stops. You put a break-even stop in the market, you're going to get a break-even. That's what it's for. You're basically putting an order in the market. Say, if you move up and then come back down to where I got in, get me out with no money. It'll do exactly that. What happens after that is completely random. So if you put a break-even in, you're going to get a break-even because the market goes up and down. And as it's going up and down, it's highly likely it's going to come back and tag where you got in. Just what it does. So I don't like break-even stops. All the testing I've done with the new version of the ORB, break-even stops is off. Apart from, no, that's not true actually. Break-even stops is on, but only after a profit take. So the way that the new version works here is perfect example. Yeah, DAX today. So there was your entry long, there was your entry short. So we had a breakout long, failed, stopped out, entered short, came down. That was TP1. TP1 got hit. As soon as TP1 gets hit, that's when the break-even triggers. So the break-even only triggers when we've banked. It doesn't trigger because we've moved a certain distance, because we don't know what distance it's going to move before it pulls back. If it's hit your target, you're just protecting that second trade and using that as a banker, basically, for a run. Other than that, I'm not interested in break-even stops. That's the best use for them. Taking two positions, hitting target, and then breaking the second one. So whatever your target is, the best way I would say to use break-even stops is whatever your target is, your T1 is, set your break-even stop as your T1, or maybe 10 pips lighter than your T1. And then you'll only get that break-even when you get to that target. And if for any reason, as it did this morning on the DAX, look, if for some reason, there's target one, look what happened this morning. Yeah, this happened while we were on stream, didn't it? We got down to there and then it pulled straight back. And I was like, brilliant. So if you'd set it just shy of where your target is, if that happens, you're just going to protect it just in case it's one of those days where it just misses your target and then comes all the way back and goes the other way. It just stops you taking a loss on the trade, doesn't it? So use a break even somewhere around where your target is, just to protect it. Break even is brilliant. My trade's working. Just don't stop me out. But if you move to break even quickly, just the nature of the market movement, what it does on its way to places like this. Yeah. Look at the market structure on that. That's a lovely run. But look at how much pullback you got. These are like 71 pullbacks, 71.9 pullbacks. Every single one, look. Stick a fib on these. Yeah, 71.9. $71.9. More than 71.9. Yeah. So, you're not going to get the entry there. You're going to get the entry somewhere like that. So you're always going to get stopped out. That's what break-evens do. This is why you don't use them. Unless the market has gone considerably in your favor, there's absolutely no reason to use one unless you want to get stopped out, which isn't always a problem, but that's not what people tend to use them for, is it? They're dangerous. They're a stop order. They stop you making profit, basically. Did you ever test the ORB strategy on Japan 225? No, haven't got it. Oh, have I? I think I have, actually, but no, haven't. I don't even know I know nothing about the Japan 225. It happens in Asia. I'm not awake. I've no idea what time the open is. It's just not even crossed my radar. This is a good example. Look how much market movement we've got up and down, and we're back to break even on this now. We're whipping like crazy today, but we are still long. we're also short as well now because the stops are wide on this. So, you know, that's what happens in a normal market condition, isn't it? The ideal is what we want is the market just to do that and hit our TP, and then we can go off and do something else. That's not the real world. It was. It'd be lovely, wouldn't it? A real world where you could predict the future and you know that it would just go there in 3 candles and you could just get out and go and do something else. No one would work. It'd be brilliant. So we are trying to rally long again. This market is schizophrenic to say the least today. So good luck. I've made my money. I'm done. Right. I'll leave it there. I'll be back tomorrow morning, 7:50, same time, and 2:20 for the afternoon session. Be aware of the news for the Australian dollar. Remember with the yen, that intervention, if it's going to happen, could happen at any time. Asian session, London session, New York session. It may not happen, but it could do. So just be aware of these yens. And remember, if you get 150 ADR hit on a yen pair, do not take it. It's got 2 to 3 times more distance to go if it happens. But if it happens, the first thing you'll know about it is your dashboard will light up going, there's ADRs. Yeah. And they'll all be hit at the same time, and we'll be sitting there going, payday. Right, have a good one. Anything you need, let me know. I'll be in Telegram. Otherwise, back tomorrow, same times, and I'll see you guys then. Have a good day.